Imagine being told where to sit, where to eat, who you could marry, and what fountain you could drink from, all because of the color of your skin. This wasn't ancient history. This was Jim Crow. It didn't wear a hood. It wore a badge. It didn't speak truth. It wrote laws. But we survived it. And now, we tell it. After slavery was abolished in 1865, many thought freedom had finally arrived for Black Americans. But white supremacy just changed its clothes. They found ways to keep us in chains. The Black Codes were early forms of Jim Crow. They restricted movement, voting, and employment. A Black man without a job? He could be arrested for vagrancy and leased to work unpaid labor. Sound familiar? It was slavery, just with different paperwork. Jim Crow wasn't a person, it was a system. Named after a racist caricature, Jim Crow laws were created in the South to reestablish racial control without slavery. From the 1870s to the 1960s, these laws made segregation the rule, not the exception. Jim Crow touched every part of life. Black children were forced into underfunded schools. Public spaces were divided. Interracial marriage was illegal. Black votes were silenced through poll taxes, literacy tests, and violence. If a Black person challenged these rules, jail, beatings, or worse. In 1896, the Supreme Court legalized segregation in Plessy versus Ferguson under the lie of separate but equal, but there was nothing equal. The court case changed everything. Homer Plessy, a Black man, sat in a whites-only train car and refused to move. He was arrested. His case went to the U.S. Supreme Court, and they ruled against him. The verdict, separate but equal, was legal. That phrase gave Jim Crow its teeth. It legalized discrimination for the next 60 years. Black communities received fewer resources, worse education, and no protection from law enforcement brutality. This wasn't just about signs on buildings. This was a system designed to control, humiliate, and isolate. By the 1950s, a new fire was rising. Brown vs. Board of Education struck down school segregation in 1954, saying, "Separate is not equal." But change didn't come easy. Black children had to walk past screaming mobs just to attend school. Yet we marched. We sat down at counters we weren't allowed to eat at. We stood up in courtrooms where justice had been silent for too long. But even in the shadow of Jim Crow, we rose. Our ancestors resisted with dignity and defiance. HBCUs educated generations. The Black church organized movements. The NAACP fought in courts. And everyday people, like Claudette Colvin and the Greensboro Four, said, "No more." It took decades, bloodshed, and boldness to begin dismantling Jim Crow. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 outlawed segregation. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 broke down barriers to the ballot. But don't get it twisted. Abolishing laws doesn't erase injustice overnight. Jim Crow didn't die, it evolved. Mass incarceration, voter suppression, school funding gaps. The systems may look different, but the oppression still echoes. That's why knowing our history isn't optional, it's armor. We are the voices that Jim Crow tried to silence but couldn't. And through truth, unity, and being on point in our purpose, we carry the torch. So when they ask, "Why are you so proud?" tell them, because we remember, and because we refuse to go back. Learn, remember, rise. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell if you want more videos.